Hello, good morning. I am Nia from the US Post. I don't know if President Trump is right or Democrats are right, but what I feel, this is the time to fight together for the betterment of the American people. We know other countries are eating our jobs, our industries are sinking. We need to act now. Tariffs or no tariffs will be decided by the success or failure of the economy. Let us see what political analysts are saying from Fox News and CNN today. If you are new to our channel, please subscribe our channel and support us. Share your comments in the comment box on the discussion. Let's dive into the news now.
Barack Hussein Obama, back in the news, chiming in and calling for collective sacrifice. Sounds like Jimmy Carter. Take a look.
It has been easy during most of our lifetimes to say you are progressive, or say you are for social justice, or say you're for free speech, and not have to pay a price for it. And now we're at one of those moments where, you know what, it's not enough just to say you're for something. You may actually have to do something and possibly sacrifice a little bit.
Excuse me, the people that want to silence and the people that want to cancel and the people that boycott and the people that are woke and the word police, that would be his party. In other words, but if you listen to Obama, he too is rooting for Americans to suffer so that he can finally get Trump once and for all. Of course, Obama won't experience any suffering himself. He has his many multiple mansions all across the country in places like beautiful Martha's Vineyard. He gets to hobnob with arrogant, rich, and famous jackasses like his buddy and loser jackass George Clooney, and we have a message for him later in the show. Now, for Obama, one big political game, doesn't really care about the quality of your life, the suffering you had the last 4 years. He remains silent about the lies on immigration, the biggest national security threat in our lifetime. And you know he just wants to say anything to trash Donald Trump, because not only did Kamala lose, he stood up for Kamala, and Kamala lost. For example, here's what he said about Trump's reciprocal tariffs. Take a look. I don't think what we just witnessed in terms of economic policy and tariffs is going to be good for America. But let's go back a few years ago. He said the complete opposite, and we've got the tape. Take a look.
We can't keep passing unfair trade deals like NAFTA that put special interests over workers' interests. Well, I want to be very clear. I don't think NAFTA has been good for America, and I never have. I didn't just start criticizing unfair trade deals like NAFTA because I started running for office. I'm doing it because I've seen what happens to a community when the factory closes down and jobs move overseas.
It's also proper for advanced economies like the United States to insist on reciprocity from nations like China that are no longer solely poor countries, to make sure that they're providing access to their markets and that they stop taking intellectual property and hacking our servers.
Oh, top Democrats have always been championing reciprocal tariffs. Oh, that is until this Tuesday, Liberation Day, when Donald Trump announced his plan to actually put it into action. The exact same tariffs that they are on record supporting. Take a look.
That the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that reciprocal?
What they have said is that we need to not worry about manufacturing in America, because what we should establish is a policy of unfettered free trade. We don't need tariffs. What we need is to allow corporate America the freedom to throw American workers out on the street.
So I have been one of the chief critics of status quo on trade. Americans, and I share this, resent all those academics who, anytime you try to do anything with China, they say protectionist, trade war. The bottom line is simple. China's eating our lunch. China's rapacious.
It's amazing, you know, what tape can do. It just reminds you what hypocrites, what liars they are. Now, instead of working together with President Trump on a policy they've openly advocated for and enacting a trade policy they've always supported, Democrats, they are fomenting panic and hysteria. As per usual, well, this hand-wringing, it will be short-lived. According to the White House,
we are seeing organizations stay quiet. We are seeing those who are capitulating to clearly unconstitutional threats. And these are the things that we are witnessing each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably creates a great sense of fear. Because, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here to say I told you so.
wow. Could you imagine 4 years of that? I want to take a moment and thank every American that voted for Donald Trump, because you prevented this country from having 4 years of that.
Yeah, I'm the average American right here at this table, because you guys are talking and I don't really understand what it is that you guys are saying. Like, seriously, I don't get it. The only thing that a lot of people who have families, who carpool, who go to and from the work, who live in the suburbs, who live in the cities, they're just wondering when things are going to get bad. That's what they're wondering. And all of the macroeconomic talk is going over their head. And honestly, I feel for them. I feel for them because it doesn't seem like anyone is talking directly to them. They're talking to the markets, they're talking to each other, they're talking to the financial system, but no one's telling somebody, hey, at the end of this summer, when you need to buy school supplies for your kids to go back to school when it's backpack time, like, that money will be there and those prices will be stable. No one is talking to them. And I think that's the biggest tragedy in all of this.
The truth.
Now, let's be very clear. After a really humiliating loss for her, Kamala Harris is actively rooting, for Americans suffering? She doesn't want Donald Trump to succeed. She doesn't want Americans to have a better life. I thought Democrats cared about working men and women. Just talk. She just wants to feel better about herself, and she's not the only one.
To be told to them, most people don't want to say. Because we had it today from Jerome Powell, chair of the Fed. He said there will be higher inflation. There will be slower growth. So the real sadness tonight is the people at home who are looking to retire.
Absolutely.
In the next year or two, and have suddenly seen their retirement funds go down by 20, 30, 40%. Because they wanted to take advantage of the Magnificent Seven and all of those sort of things. Tonight, they're wondering, how the heck do I actually do it? This is real-life economics, to your point. You're right. The sort of nonsense that we can all go on about.
It's not nonsense.
Well,
I'm just saying.
But it's totally true, because you're making a really important point. There is not some kind of 360 plan that has been articulated to America here. Trump said, well, we're going to have to take a little pain. What does that mean? Who's taking the pain? The average working person will be taking the pain, because when inflation hits, those are the people that spend 60% of their take home in energy and food, fueling their cars. I mean, we're going to be in a very, very difficult situation.
I find it insane that we're all finally concerned about inflation. That was a word that really didn't exist for many years while Joe Biden was president. But I want to point out something. Last night, Richard, you took off your shoe. You said it's made in Vietnam. It's going to be 34% more expensive next year. Today, the Secretary General of Vietnam reached out to President Trump and said, we want to have zero tariffs for both countries, proving to some degree that this is a leverage play.
What does that prove, Joe?
It proves.
What does that prove? Because at the end of the conversation, the president said, nice talking to you. And nothing about, we're going to have a deal, lower our tariffs.
I'm going to tell you what it proves.
He said, great conversation.
Vietnam, they're already begging, they're offering to eliminate tariffs on the U.S. Cambodia, also desperate for a deal with Donald Trump, with reports that the country is willing to slash their tariffs from 35% to 5%. Reciprocal. They'll benefit, we'll benefit. That's the beauty of it. They have the choice, free and fair trade or reciprocal tariffs. Up to them. Here at home, both General Motors, Nissan, they're working fast to expand their manufacturing plants. right here in the USA, high-paying career jobs. There are dozens of other countries now working behind the scenes to lower their own tariffs and finally create a level playing field with the United States that they have been abusing and taking advantage of because we've had politicians that let them do it. Most importantly, as FoxNews.com, an opinion piece points out, quote, Liberation Day is about investment, not in financial derivatives or foreign product change, but in our own people to create jobs for them. Now, this is about putting America and American jobs first. That has been Donald Trump's sole mission from day one. It was very clear during the campaign. And by the way, we are seeing massive results. In March, the jobs report blew past every forecast, a whopping impressive 228,000 new jobs. We'll call that the Trump effect. In contrast, Canada, they lost 33,000 jobs. So let's be clear. Our country, we are not a charity for the rest of the world. We compete with the rest of the world. They've been taking advantage of us. They've been abusing us. Frankly, we've let them do it. And now we're finally playing to...
Let's look historically. 1996, there was a member of Congress who stood on the floor looking at 2% tariffs we had on China, 35% tariffs they had on us. This woman demanded that we had reciprocal tariffs. You know who that was? Nancy Pelosi. 2008, same thing. A guy stood on the Senate floor lamenting.
Reciprocal tariffs.
I'm just saying, they lamented the loss of America's workers.
Lowered its tariff barrier to 0. You know what we did? We raised our tariff barrier to 17%.
Again, just going back. Democrats have repeatedly said, I have a list of quotes here, repeatedly said we should have reciprocal tariffs on different countries and did nothing. They're a party of Cory Bookers. Let's just talk and not do anything.
You talk about the Vietnam. I'm so glad you brought up Vietnam.
I tipped you off.
And I'll also bring up Cambodia. The problem with going to 0 tariffs with Vietnam and Cambodia, great. First of all, US exports almost next to nothing to those countries. It's negligible. It's less than 500 million. But let's assume you go to 0. The problem with both of those countries is not the nominal tariff rate of 30%, 15%. It's the non-tariff barriers, the government procurement rules, the ownership rules, everything else that Donald Trump quite rightly said on Wednesday, quite rightly said.
You took your shoe off. You said it's going to be 34% more expensive because of the tariff. Today, the Secretary General, forgive me, I forget the party name, the president's called Donald Trump and said, we want to actually negotiate a deal.
But that's not going to help.
That would be favorable. That would be favorable. The problem is Democrats have been promising this. Bernie Sanders used to call free trade a right-wing conspiracy or something like that. Never did anything about it. Never did anything about it.
Oh, right? I'm sorry. I got to beg to differ because here's the history. And I'm going to give both sides some credit. Trump won. Bob Lighthizer, the USTR, comes in and says, you know what? We got to rejigger the global trading system. It was a good thing to say. Tariffs on China, fine. Biden keeps those. Then he actually articulates a real industrial policy. He says, what do we need most of all in this country? Chips. We brought back the semiconductor industry in 18 months. That's how you do this. Trump now comes in, and he had, let me finish, he had an opportunity here, actually, given the strength of the U.S. economy at this moment, to really work with allies and say, this is the time. Europe, Canada, Mexico, we're going to go to China and say, here's the new game, and here's how it's going to be played. He didn't do that. He is squandering our time.
I have to disagree with that slightly because that's not giving President Trump any credit for the amount of foreign investment that has been pledged in this very brief time of this administration. It's most estimates between $2 to $3 trillion commitments from SoftBank, from Taiwan Semi, to bring back. Well, Richard, you scoff. Why do you scoff?
I do, because
Please.
these
I take issue with the scoff, sir.
I do. No, you can take as much issue as you like. But these are, of course, valid. If it happens,
they are. It's no less valid than the
Wisconsin.
Chips Act.
Wisconsin and the factory that was supposed to be built by, I can't remember the company, in 2018 never happened. These are promises being made to appease a president to get him off your back. Let's see how much of that $2 trillion.
Including some promises that were, including some promises of some plants that were already in the works. Joe, just a second. Just a second.
Is the guy from Staten
Including
Island.
some promises that were made, that were planned when Joe Biden was president and held off to announce after they waited to see who won the election. Businesses are not stupid. They do what they need to do to get in the good graces of Donald Trump. It's not rocket science. One last note, they were supposed to have a deal with China on TikTok, supposed to be announced this weekend. That is on hold now. And
why do you think that is, though, Abby?
Well, because China says, we want you to bring down your tariffs, and we're going to hold TikTok hostage until you do. And they're getting their way.
But that's to your initial point. It's part of the negotiation.
I don't think we're on the winning side of that negotiation.
That remains to be seen.
We're not on the winning side of that negotiation. China has all the power.
If chaos is the only thing that you can count on, people will bet on chaos. And when you're betting on chaos, that keeps you tense. It keeps you tight.
That's
it
right.
doesn't, you don't move in good faith. You think, hey, this guy changes his mind every single minute, every single hour, and you start to kind of hold on to it.
Right. Correct.